Who are the influencers in accounting? Who are the people that are shaping the future of this profession? Well, they are the influencers, whether they are nominated, whether they just do great things out there. We're shining a light on them.
The accounting industry as a whole could really do better with gamification and gamifying the talent acquisition process and the recruiting and retention piece of it. Big Four accounting firm came to speak at the college, and they thought that as a intern or first year that we should actually be paying them, giving us in that first year and all that good stuff. And he was so serious. And I was just like, you are insane.
This is Leaders of the Ledger, the podcast, brand new, coming out from CPA Practice Advisor. I'm your host, Rob Brown.
Understand what your passion is, research on how you can enter into that space as an accountant or as a finance person, and then go hard in it. Don't be afraid.
This is an international show, so you've got an English voice, and I'm thrilled to have with us today from Los Angeles, Kendale King. Good day, sir. Who are the influencers in accounting? Who are the people that are shaping the future of this profession? Well, they are the influencers, whether they are nominated, whether they just do great things out there. We're shining a light on them. This is Leaders of the Ledger, the podcast, brand new, coming out from CPA Practice Advisor. I'm your host, Rob Brown. This is an international show, so you've got an English voice, and I'm thrilled to have with us today from Los Angeles, Kendale King. Good day, sir.
How you doing?
We're doing splendid. Wonderful to have you with us, Kendale. Tell us a little bit about your role right now, your firm, your job.
Yeah, so right now, again, I'm a CPA, and I'm actually I don't say turning the corner, but, really refining what, my actual go-to market, all that strategy itself. But
okay.
I'll talk about what that will be and what that is. And so essentially I'm moving into business management services, which include CPA, accounting, all that stuff. But usually when you look at entertainers or actors, musicians, right? They get an agent, they get a lawyer, and they say they get an accountant. But usually that accountant is more of what's called a business manager, who is looking over their agreements, processing their, payroll, setting their businesses up, doing the AP/AR. And so that's essentially effectively managing their business, financial stuff. But usually it kind of that's really what it is. It's just that piece. They get their percentages. It's again, depending on the level you're at, you're probably not really getting tax planning. They probably would get a separate, CPA for that.
Got it.
And the actual, business manager sometimes isn't always helping with bringing in money, or optimizing, costs and stuff like that. And so, for me specifically, I love the entertainment space. I work a lot with content creators, entertainers of all types, and I really determined and saw that the business management aspect for content creators and gamers and stuff like that is not there, and the goal is to really fill in that space and into that pocket to have them somebody to help them with their financials, especially now when people can hop on a stream and make $100,000 without really trying too hard. And so it's really important now.
Sounds like you're going to shake that space up, Kendale.
I'm trying.
I thought what you were going to say, agents and things like that. My personal brand is getting so big that I need an agent. I thought that's what you were going to tell me. But you are influential. You've been recognized as such. How does that handle influencer feel with you? Do you feel like one? Do you act like one?
I see plenty of influencers, and I would say I don't act like them. But
well, you see celebrity influencers, don't
right,
you?
exactly.
And serious content creators. For a CPA,
right,
you're a little bit more famous than some.
Yeah, I agree. It's just like it's funny because in that world, the people who like in the content creation or entertainment, production space, people know me, but I wouldn't say I'm an influencer out there yet. But definitely in the CPA, accounting, industry, I'm up there a little bit,
you're recognized by your peers, right? Yeah. That's an element of influence for sure.
Yes, and I really appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, there's an audience of your clients where you want to be influential in those, that external world, but within your sphere, your peers, your other accountants, other accounting firms, you've got some recognition there too. It's interesting you say you're pivoting from the traditional accountant in practice role, having a book of business there, doing the general compliance type stuff. The accounting qualification, it's good for a lot of things, Kendale, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And I think that when, especially getting the actual CPA, I know there's been conversations about the actual usefulness of a CPA nowadays.
Big conversations about the licensure as well.
Right, exactly. And in some aspects I agree, like, we could find better ways to make it more useful. I think historically it's been more about you get the CPA, now you can sign off on an audit, right? But that's really the main thing that kind of differentiates. And maybe you can sign off on some other, things from the bank or something like that. But I've had a conversation about this where I feel that if we really wanted to make the CPA more valuable, maybe heighten up the requirements for anybody who can file a tax return, because you don't need to, have a CPA to do that, right? But what if you did? Now the CPA becomes a lot more valuable. And if, we can obviously keep going down the line of like what a CPA could really, kind of put some more power into it. But yeah, it's more than just the compliance. And I personally hate the compliance. I like talking and executing new ideas and opening up new pathways of revenue and realizing that I made an actual contribution and value to the business at the end of the day instead of, just kind of documenting what happened in the past.
But that's presumably evolved for you. When most people get into accounting, they recognize it's probably going to be a compliance-based career. The spreadsheets, the debits and credits, everything else, you're technically strong, you're mathematically able, and that's where you go in. But then maybe all these things open up on the more advisory consulting side.
Yeah, honestly, for me, I actually was introduced into accounting back in high school. Well, I was taking college courses at that time, and It just made sense to me. So yes, 100% understanding the foundation was one thing, but where I really was like, all right, I love this is in college, when I went to Morehouse, I did a case study competition with Deloitte, and that wasn't necessarily about compliance. That was like, all right, I was more advisory services. Let's look up the codification. Let's make sure we're doing this right. Present it to your board or whatever scenario was. And I really enjoy that type of advisory stuff. And consulting. And then when I went into Deloitte and I was doing the audit, it was cool for a minute because obviously I'm learning.
For a minute, yeah.
Yeah, for a minute, because I'm learning. I'm learning it with all good information. I was like, okay, I haven't done this before. Once you got that, and then next year you're doing the exact same thing, and the year after that you're doing the exact same thing. For me, I am like, all right. I mean, I say exact same thing, but there's obviously some nuances that get thrown in, and maybe you get opened up to different parts of the audit. But honestly, it's still kind of just checking the boxes. And then for me specifically, I just felt like I wasn't providing the client, being, the audit client at that point, much value. When you're on the audit side of it, and I know that there is value in it, and our end all client is really the investors who are, reading the financials, right? But when you're at their workplace and you're asking them questions, you almost feel like the enemy. You don't feel like you're really welcomed or that they want you to be there. And so I went actually into consulting right after that at a place called the Siegfried Group, and that was totally different because they are requesting you. They're like, hey, we have a need here and we need your help and we want you to come in here and do this. And it's just a totally different value proposition. And it just feels way better for the person that I am. And I like, helping people. I like being there, to solve an issue or solve a problem.
Yeah. How long have you been in the accounting game?
I was doing accounting. I was even doing, the Vita clinics and stuff back in I did accounting at my college doing work study programs. So if you really want to go back, I would say for sure at least back into 2012. So
okay,
Going on 13.
So 10 years or so, 12 years. How much has the game changed in that time? Because there's a lot going on, isn't there?
Yeah, there is a lot going on. I feel that the game changing is more of people waking up and realizing that, the assembly line doesn't have to be followed. It's like there's other paths out there that you can take. And it's one of the main reasons why a lot of people are, why this whole accounting crisis is occurring, because people are waking up and realizing, and maybe it's the advent of social media. So you're able to see so many different things all at once, where in the past you really couldn't. You could only really see what was in front of you, back before social media, right? Or who was around you. And so now with that being here, it's just like, all right, now I can see that I can do X, Y, or Z, or I'm not limited to just doing this because that's all I saw. And so I think that's the biggest thing, is that people are realizing that there's more out there, and therefore are like going into it. And I think the business as a whole has been like leaning a lot more to that advisory thing, trying to provide, that different type of value instead of just the compliance work that, we're so used to.
Yeah, that makes sense. People say compliance is dead, but of course it isn't. It's the bread and butter. It's the backbone of accounting and audit and tax. But yeah, there is downward pressure on compliance fees. Everyone knows that. It's not where the value is. So it's exciting for accountants to be able to embrace that more advisory side of things. You use the phrase accounting crisis, and I hear it a lot when I interview people in this space. What is the accounting crisis from your perspective?
In my opinion, again, I think it just goes right back to the people waking up. People waking up to realize that this machine that was created a long time ago by people we don't even know, the regime of the different audit firms collaborating with the colleges and just getting the process where, all right, you create them and spit them into this and rotating it out. And I think that people have woken up to, all right, I don't have to do this. I don't want to do this anymore. I still say this all the time. I remember when I was in college and a partner from a Big Four accounting firm came to speak at the college, and they were saying how they thought that as an intern or a first year that we should actually be paying them because of the knowledge that, they're giving us in that first year and all that good stuff. And he was so serious, and I was just like, "You are insane." Respectfully, you are very insane to like really believe that. But that is a mindset, and that's the mindset of this machine that was created to say, look, for the first, we don't make money off of you for the first few years or something, so you owe us, so you owe us your loyalty, you owe us to be here, and that's the main way that they're okay with. We're overworking people for, 140 plus hours a week, depending on where you're at. I've done busy season. I know the times that we show up and we leave. And so it's just like, I think that this accounting crisis is born from the fact of people realizing that there's other things out there. There's other paths to success. Because, if you went to college, they would tell you this is the only way. Like, back in the day, it was like either you go into Big Four or you go into banking. That was like your two, pathways once you, were getting out of accounting or as a business administration major. So, but now it's like that's not the case. And this day and age, so many people who can kind of do it on their own. There's so many tools and resources out there. And I think that historically, the accounting industry as a whole hasn't needed to really focus on the marketing of accounting because it was just so necessary. So like you needed it, and people knew it was a stable job, so they didn't necessarily care to market or to figure out how do I get acquisition of people, talent acquisition. They just knew that it was a whole machine that was already doing it. So it wasn't really, nobody really cared about the marketing, the branding of accounting as a whole. And I think that that's the big thing that is shifting right now and needs to be focused on, is how to effectively update the branding and stuff for accounting. That's
very well put. I see it a lot that back in the day, you are privileged to be an accountant. You will come and work for us, and we've got so many people that want to work for us, and so if you don't want to, that's it, goodbye. But now there's a talent crisis, now there's a pipeline shortage, and people are not queuing up to go and work in accounting practices, so they've got to work a lot harder with the brand to get them taking the degrees and coming up through and taking internships and everything else to fill those spaces in their firms to deliver to very demanding and complex clients. So yeah, the game is changing. What's one thing the accounting industry or profession could do to be more attractive, do you feel?
I feel that, and I talk about this all the time, I go to different conferences to speak about it, is about gamification. And I personally, me specifically, I just love games. I love competition. I love, just thinking and just being there. And so for me, the thing that I talk about all the time is about gamification, where, when you think about you as a customer and you go to a store, there's a loyalty program most likely, right? And for me specifically, like even gas, I have a Tesla, so I don't even get gas, but my wife has a Jeep. And so I put gas in her car. But for me, so when I was doing that, I was like, you know what, now I'm going to get rewards program with Exxon Mobil, so that every time it is one right down the corner. So anytime I need to fill up gas, I am making sure I go to Exxon and I have the app. So I open up the app. It's just an easy access. You can literally just start the gas pump on your phone. That's how connected it is. And when you use the gas, you get points. And I think I got even like $14 worth of gas, already saved up right now that I could use. And so it's that mindset, that gamification, it's even the way that it looks in the app looks like you're at this milestone, here's the next thing. And I think that for me specifically, those gaming dynamics really do help, and it breeds loyalty. It's like, look, I want, no matter what, if the gas needs to be in that car, I'm going to make sure to go to it next time. If I'm at the grocery store, I'm probably trying to find a Rouse, to make sure that, or a Vons to make sure, because I have, a program with them. And so I think that the accounting industry as a whole could really do better with gamification and gamifying the talent acquisition process and the recruiting and retention piece of it, so that we are, properly motivating our talent to stay, to be in here, to want to, make this a year-long, like a lifetime career for them. And that's why one of the main things that I've done to help contribute to that, other than speaking, is I created CPACon, which is almost like a gamified career fair of sorts, where, I got students coming in, I got professionals coming in, and we have panels throughout the day, but we also, or the main draw there and focus is that we have actual games, actual game shows, actual game focused, activities that, both test your ability in accounting, but then also it just provides that team dynamic, that competitiveness. And for me, I'm thinking, what would it look like if we all really experience this as like a sports team? Everybody has a favorite sports team. If you watch it, that you're rooting for and you would die for, type of thing. So like, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and the Browns suck. All of our teams are terrible, but I'm going to always root for them, no matter what. And I think that type of loyalty, that type of brand alignment is really important. And I think that's the biggest thing right now in this day and age that can really help the accounting space, is gamifying and figuring out a way on how to, make sure to ensure brand and talent alignment, make sure the culture meets. And then when the culture meets, you continue motivating people to do what you want them to do. So,
wow. CPA.com.
CPACon.
We hit it. CPACon. We heard it here. That's amazing. And you're so passionate the way you speak, Kendale. You clearly got a crusade. You've got a cause, and you're building a platform so that you can talk about that. It's important, isn't it?
Yes.
Otherwise, you're just a voice or a noise in a vacuum.
Yes, and for a while, I was kind of that. I was just a voice in my wife's ear. And now, I have made steps and strides to kind of, speak that out into the into the accounting industry void, and it got picked up on, and it resonated with people, and starting to hear more. And then obviously other people are really interested in just understanding the path that I took, and the opportunities that exist out there. And I really, really love the fact that I've been able to be in this position. Knowing I got way farther to go. I feel like I'm just kind of barely scratching the surface of what I really want to do, but and what the real goal is. But I'm glad that this has already been such a widely received sentiment that people want to support.
Yeah. What excites you most about accounting right now, where it is?
I always root for the underdog, so I like the fact that the cards are kind of stacked against us, and people do think that this is boring and everything, is because I feel like we have so much more. We have this brand, again, this story that we haven't really told. That once it is told, I feel like it's going to be a huge what's going on here? So I really enjoy the fact that we are kind of being looked down on right now, because that just gives us that opportunity to see how we all can collaborate and get past it.
I love that. That's great. Couple more questions here, Kendale. I'm going to ask you in a minute for a prediction. What do you feel is coming up in the accounting world over the next few years? You can put any time scale you like on that. And then I'll ask you, if you wouldn't mind, just to finish with the 2 or 3 tips you would give to people that want to be more influential in the accounting world, want to utilize their qualification a little bit more, want to make more of a difference, want to be heard, more vocal, more visible. So be thinking about that for us. But let's hit that prediction. If you are going to Las Vegas and putting everything on black or red, what's definitely going to happen over the next few years in our world?
For me, I've been saying this for a few years now, but I think, so I'm going to say maybe in 5-10 years maybe, but I really think that we're going to see a shift from the big accounting firms and move more to what I call like the solo firm methodology, which is somebody like me who has a CPA and maybe they have a couple employees, but nothing too huge. I think also with the advent of like AI, this is even one to speed this up. But I feel like there's going to be a lot of CPAs who are actually really going to put up their own shingles and not necessarily just go into the big four or other big accounting firms. I feel that there's going to be, because there's so much work out there that like literally there's not even enough CPAs and people to do all the work, and so I really do think that it's going to be a boon of really accounting being looked at as a self-employment opportunity, right? Like that's building your business as an accountant. Like that's going to be one of the things to think about when you want to be your own business owner, is thinking about a CPA, which has always technically has been, but it hasn't really been the message. And I think that you'll find all these solo firms and maybe they work together on certain projects. So like if I only focus on entertainment and creators, but I find a specific issue, like maybe payroll, like I don't feel like doing payroll, I'll connect with somebody who wants to do payroll, and we'll just transact business that way, instead of trying to build this huge conglomerate of that just becomes super huge and big. It's just like I think it's going to be a lot more of the smaller solo firms and just people working together.
The rise of the entrepreneurial accountant. I love it.
There you go. That's a very nice way to put it.
There you go. Kendale, last question then. What advice would you give to people watching, listening? They've got passion like you have. They've got a cause. They've got ideas. They want to be breaking out from where they are right now. Maybe they feel a little bit shackled in their role. They might be more senior and looking for more meaning. What advice would you give to them?
First thing is, don't be afraid. You got to take a leap. You got to take that step, that jump, whatever that is going to be. That's number one. But also do your research and figure out like what do you really want to do and what you really want to be. What's your passion? One of the things that I say a lot, to help with accountants to stay in this industry, accounting industry as a whole, and like really have longevity, is that you should be aligning your actual job with a passion of yours. So for me, my passion is entertainment, gaming, movies, film. I just have a passion for that. I just love it. Like you don't have to even pay me to do some of the stuff that I do in this in this space. And accounting is just the way that I show up, in this space. And so I think that's number one, is understanding and finding what your passion is, and then taking the steps. Do your research, figure out how to get into there. Like we're accountants. We are not, shy, and we're not like shy to understanding that you need to research. Sometimes, yes, accountants are very shy, but you have to, understand that what it is you actually want first and foremost, and then you got to take the step. Don't be afraid to ask somebody for help. Like for me, I'm an open book. There was like a few people who hit me up on LinkedIn, and I'm terrible at responding sometimes, but I just followed up, and we're going to plan some meetings and calls this week because they just want to pick my brain. It's like, hey, how did you do this? And I think that there's most of the people out here in the accounting space are the same way. Obviously we're all busy and we're trying to manage our time properly, but I think that most people would be happy to have that conversation, and most people would be happy to to spend that time to help and guide and build the community. So my steps are, again, just to sum them up, is understand what your passion is, research on how you can enter into that space as an accountant or as a finance person, and then go hard in it, and don't be afraid, and utilize people who are in that space, or to ask them questions. And I think if you also mentioned like being an influencer in the space, is just post. Right now, this day and age is a huge about social media, and I think that we would be behind the eight ball if we don't take advantage of social media, because it's out there for everybody.
Yeah, that's really well put. And I'm just thinking there are some risks too. It sounds like you've moved from Cleveland, Ohio, and gone over to LA because that's where your people are. That's your tribe, isn't it? That's the hub of the creative world over there. So you've got to sacrifice some things. You've got to say no to some things in following your dreams. Would that be fair?
Yeah, no, that's very fair. That's the huge thing. Like, because even from leaving Cleveland, and I went to Atlanta, and then I went to Florida. But each of those places didn't really feel right for me at those times until I moved to LA, and then it's like, yes, this is it. This is the energy. This is the space for me. So, and I've been here ever since. And now also this day and age is the world as a whole is also becoming. It's like the barriers are kind of being lifted, where it's not necessarily geo-locked anymore, and other states are also kind of getting more production, more entertainment, and stuff like that. And so it's actually been opening up a little bit more now. But LA, Hollywood is still, a place to be for sure. It's struggling a little bit, but it's still a place to be. And again, you want to align yourself in the place. So if you want to do cars, then maybe Michigan, Detroit is a solid place for you. Sure. Or even Texas, depending on what type of car maker you're looking for. But yeah.
Well, Kendale King, you've got the Hollywood name for sure, and you are definitely living the dream. You are the accounting influencer to the influencers. It's been a joy having you on today and learning a little bit about your world. Thank you so much for your passion and your insights.
Thank you.